You can't hold it like that. You grab that frog by the back leg like that right there, and then you hold it. That's a good frog. Grab yours like that.
Wave at the camera, boys. Y'all be on TV here this week.
Hey folks, Jake Davis here with Southern Woods and Waters. We're down visiting beautiful Dayton, Tennessee on behalf of Fish Dayton.
Brad, second level, little strike here. White bass.
A little white bass.
Two backs with him in the backfield. Run the option to the near side. They try a reverse and the ball's loose.
There we go.
Lebanon, THW Insurance Services, LLC, 321 West Main Street, Lebanon, Cumberland University Sports 5, and at 8:30 a.m. on Thursday on the Wilson Post Facebook page. Let me run through the schedule of high school football that we've got coming up. Week 7, Thursday action, October 3, Antioch will play at Mount Juliet. That'll be a 7:30 kickoff. Friday, October 4, Lebanon at Wilson Central. Green Hill at Warren County, Providence Christian at Friendship Christian, Grace Christian at Mount Juliet Christian, and Watertown will go to Pulaski where they will play Giles County. Tim Mathis, head coach at Cumberland University, is with us on the first segment of the show. No game last week, preparation this week, getting ready to play at Campbellsville to open Mid-South Conference play. Tim, how has the week of practice been so far?
It's been good. You know, we dabbed in it a little bit last week of starting to get ready for them, but a lot of that was working on Cumberland, you know, getting better. But the past 2 days have been really good practices of, you know, starting our gauntlet of conference play.
Well, we touched on it a little bit last week because you had that open week. You took a day or two off, and you worked on Cumberland quite a bit. What kind of problems does – I know Campbellsville's 5-0. They beat the Division II team, Roosevelt, from Chicago last week. What have you seen on film about Campbellsville?
They're scoring a lot of points. Didn't score as many points against Roosevelt, but I think Roosevelt's a pretty decent team. Just moved up, and their record doesn't show it. I don't think they've won a game, but they've played some pretty good teams. But their offense is pretty good. They do a lot of motions and shifts, and just trying to get your defense out of whack and set up the matchups they want to do. But they're doing a pretty good job of scoring points and all that. But they have given up some points as well. But they're not bad on defense either. To me, they remind me a lot of Florida Memorial as far as how they play and everything. So it's going to be a tough game. We don't have an easy game in the Mid-South.
When you talk about what they want to do offensively with a lot of movement and shifts and that sort of thing, Cumberland plays a lot of base defense. You don't see a lot of trickery or moving a lot of folks around. That probably makes that a little easier for your bunch defensively.
It should. You just got to have – the whole thing is, especially in the secondary and stuff, is just to out-discipline, what your keys are. You stay with your keys and don't get fooled with all the motions or the swaps in formation or whatever. It's just eye discipline, and it's, as long as you do that, because we don't trade guys over and all that. We do kind of, stay where we're at, which is a good thing because it could get more confusing. But it's just, everything they do is just window dressing to get you to get out of where you want to be. And so we just got to be disciplined and trust our keys and trust what our reads are, and we'll be okay.
And it sounds like, and a lot of teams that do that have a lot of motion, a lot of shifts, different formations, they've got a base package of plays that they have. They're running those plays out of all kinds of different formations just to kind of goof you up.
It's exactly what it is. They really don't do a whole lot. They just do a lot of window dressing to get to this, just like you're saying, to get to the same play. They're just doing a lot of window dressing.
Personnel-wise, on their defense, do they have some guys who might give you a little concern? Do they blitz? Are they going to stay base? How will they play you?
They're an odd front. They're 3-4, but they get in a lot of even looks with that and getting to bare looks with it. And we think we might see that a little bit just because we've been able to run the ball. But they're not huge up front, and because of that, and it's kind of similar to us, is there is a movement up there. They can't just play technique and play you. They got to move guys, and they do a good job of that. They do a good job of stunting their guys up front to create movement, to try to create problems, and they're not. You don't look at them and go, whoa. But they're sound in what they are, sound in what they do with all the movement, and it's ours has got to be offensively is just block, do your job, block the if you're on the line, block your play, block how you're supposed to do it, because with all being concentrated.
And offensive linemen generally have rules that they go by.
Right.
If the ball's coming inside of them, I'm going to block it this way. If the ball's outside, I'm going to block it this way. That takes care of stunts.
It takes care of all that because if you block your rules, they're going to stunt into where you're supposed to be anyway. So again, it's eye candy on the defense. You just got to trust your rules, and really stress that today. There was one look we had problems with, and we got it right. And the second time we went through it, and it's all about don't hesitate. You just go. You go full speed, and it's going to come out in the wash if you'll just block your rules and step where you're supposed to step.
We talked the last time you were here that the open week may have hit you at a pretty good time to get some people back who had some bumps, bruises. You held them out of some games. That holds true in your offensive line.
It definitely, Mitchell Bear is back this week, and he's going to get reps at guard. He's getting in the guard rotation immediately. Drake Fisher started practice this week. He'll probably be next game before he gets back. But then, we're full go on our offensive line when those guys get back to where we were at camp, and not just camp, and spring practice as well. And we're back to, knock on wood, and hopefully don't have any other injuries or issues there. But you're feeling really good up front, and got William Spence is back at receiver. So we've got him back. He had an injury issue right at the end of camp and hadn't been able to play. So we've gotten some guys back on offense, and we've been able this off week too of rest some guys on defense that had some, bumps and bruises, little twitches in their muscles or whatever that hopefully that helps them heal by game time this week too.
You talked about getting Spence back into that receiving rotation. Tim, you had some pretty good guys out there, even young guys playing receiver.
That's the great thing about it is you got a guy out there that's played for 2 years that that's been a starter, that knows what he can do. We can move him in different positions because he knows all the positions. It gives us even more depth, and then we haven't had any issues at receiver injury wise, but it's given us some depth that we necessarily might not have really had.
Well, again, it's better to have too many at a position than not have enough.
We're not complaining about getting more guys into the game at all, because it will, in this going into conference play and going into this 6 games or 5 game stretch right here, we need as many guys as we can get.
Your running back room has been pretty good.
It has, and they're healthy. That actually, the off week actually helped them too, because just relax some muscles and everything, and it's just, we're full go there, and probably still a game or two before the one person we're still probably missing offensively is Devin Williams, who we're probably a week or 2 out from getting him back from his ACL last year. So hopefully we get him back really, really soon, because he really makes a difference. And not that our tight ends have played bad, it's just he makes a real difference at tight end when we get him back. And it'd be really awesome to get him back at tight end, and then we've got everybody on offense cooking.
Devin, with that ACL, getting him back on the field, and maybe not this week, maybe a little bit later, something like that. Does he have a red shirt available, or is this going to wrap it up for him?
He does. We could red shirt him, but we're hoping to get him back, by next week or the next, just so we can play him in those games, because he's one of the best tight ends in the conference, and we can redshirt him if we have to, and he's healed. Everything's good. We're just it's quad and hamstring strength is what it is. It's getting the muscle built up enough. He's just not quite where he gets full range of motion with a single leg squat, and that's what we're kind of waiting on with him to push through that one spot, because we don't want to put him out there if he's not 100%, because we don't want to risk another injury.
Campbellsville is not that far away.
No.
That's one of the closer trips that you have. It would be great if some of this Cumberland faithful made that trip for that 6 o'clock
I'm really
game.
hoping. I won't ever call it X or whatever. I kind of tweeted that out today that it's 2 hours and 15 minutes away from here in Lebanon. We'd love to have I've just been calling them our 12th man, have a great crowd. It was amazing when we went to Union, the crowd we had at Union. We'd love to have that crowd and even more at that game, turn their field into our home advantage, because it's a huge help. And in conference play, when you get people traveling like that, it can only help.
6 o'clock kickoff changes your game day a little bit. Instead of having the 1 o'clock, 1:30 kick, it's going to be a 6 o'clock kick. What's that Saturday routine going to be like for your football team?
It's not much different than, because of when we're going to leave, and so it's not much different than when it's a home game, as far as when we do a little walkthrough before we eat our pregame meal and all that. It bumps up by an hour and a half or whatever, but it's kind of the same routine. We'll get on that bus, So you get about a 2 hour and 15-minute quiet time going to the. It's actually a little better than a home game because they'll get in the locker room sometimes at home games, and it's not quiet time because they put the music on and listen to stuff that I couldn't tell you what they're saying, but they love that. But it'll be a good 2 hour time of just, hey, play the game. We always stress, play the game in your mind. Go through your blocks, play the game. If we have this call or that call, do your assignment on defense. Do your assignment, and a lot of guys do heed that, and they take that because you can play the game in your mind before you get there.
And having this time off, you feel like you're going to take a pretty healthy bunch to Campbellsville, right?
But yeah, we definitely are. That's why I was looking at the travel list today, and I think, I think we're traveling 69, 70 guys most people don't travel that many guys, but we're traveling, 69, 70 kids. That's not bad on the NAIA level.
Well, and a lot of those guys are going to play.
Right, they are. And, it helps to have those 2 games that you can play and it not count against you. So we are using some young guys that we use on special teams and things that helps us go through this gauntlet of games of keeping some of the starters off 2 or 3 special teams. Maybe they're just on one that we really need them on instead of all of them.
Yeah.
So that helps a whole bunch.
With Cumberland starting Mid-South Conference play on Saturday, is everybody else rolling in the
I think
conference?
everybody's playing. I think Lindsay's off this week, but everybody else is. I think Bethel and Cumberland's play each other. I'm trying to think of who else. So I guess Faulkner and Georgetown play each other.
The conference needs a couple more teams, don't they?
You do. It's just the hard part about that is there's not a lot of NAIA teams that play football. There's a lot more that play baseball and basketball and all that, but there's not a lot of teams that want to spend that money and start football, and that's the issue. Is you lose one. Pikeville went to the AAC or whatever. You lose 1 or 2 of those teams, and there's nobody to add because there's nobody.
Yeah.
There's nobody close enough is the problem. But so like next year, scheduling wise, we went back to right, wrong, or indifferent. The Appalachian Division, the conference wouldn't schedule games with us anymore, so we're going back to the Sun Conference and playing those Florida teams. Not ideal, but it gives you games. And our hard problem, we had to go to Missouri because nobody will play us.
Yeah,
that's the biggest issue. Not most of the people in Appalachian won't play us. Union's going to play us again next year, which is awesome because he realizes it's not a long game. We've historically played each other. It's a good game, and they will. But a lot of those won't. Pikeville's going to play us, so we'll play them, but. Some of those other teams, we're not playing. And it is what it is. They got to live with that. They got to go try to find games. They might travel 10 hours to go if they think they're going to chase a win or whatever. But they might close their school down with their travel expense. But you got to take that into account. But with the Sun, we'll have a home and away each year.
So it's basically a 2-year agreement with the Sun Conference.
Yeah, and going forward, because what we told the conference was, and I don't mind going down there. Do I want to go 12, 13 hours? No, but my whole deal with it is, and we're getting accommodated that way, is let us have a bye week the next week if we have to travel that far. Same with them.
Yeah.
They schedule a bye week, so you're not having to basically lose 2 days because you're traveling back to planning for the next week that you got a bye week. So you're not trying to bang your head against the wall trying to get ready for the next because you're on a bus for 2 days.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And you won't have that issue going to Campbellsville because it's, like you said, it's 2.5 hours away. 6 o'clock kickoff there at Campbellsville, Kentucky. Tim, I hope you have a good crowd that goes with you. Best of luck, pal.
Thank you. Go Phoenix.
Tim Mathis, head coach at Cumberland, with us here on the first segment. We'll be back with more after these words.
They're all on the porch.
Hey, welcome back to our second segment of Coach's Night Out live at Town Square Social. Advantage Roofing Contractors, LLC, Shop Springs Creamery, the Salas Realty Group, THW Insurance Services, LLC, Cumberland University Athletics, DT McCall and Son, Carthage, Lafayette, Lebanon, Franklin, Cookeville, Shop Springs Creamery, the official chocolate milk of Blue Devil football, 28-16, Sparta Pike. Chuck Gentry is with us here in the second segment. And before we get too far into this thing, Zion Logue, Lebanon High, class of 2019, former Georgia Bulldog, 2 national championships and an SEC title, has a new NFL home.
Yeah, I was on the practice field, obviously, and got a call, and then called his mother, and she gave me all the details. It wasn't public yet, but they were flying him out of Atlanta to Buffalo, and the next morning doing all the physical contract, all that stuff. Got him on the roster as number 97, and a lot of opportunity. I think he's the 5th defensive lineman out of, I think they only have 4 on the 2 deep. He's the 5th one now, and where he was number 9 in Atlanta. So I think Derrick Henry and the run game for the Ravens showed them they needed a little more beef inside, and so I was told that there's the defensive line coach at the Buffalo Bills was the defensive line coach at Austin Peay, who had offered, one of the first people to offer Zion.
Okay.
So there is a little bit of a back connection back there, but his whole deal was he didn't like the cold, and I can attest to that. I've been with him in the cold. He doesn't like the cold, but I said there's enough people in Lebanon to send you warm hugs that it'll be okay. And the Buffalo's been playing up there in the cold, and there's a reason they keep running them out there. So you're going to be okay. You'll thaw out after it's over.
Well, Andy McCullum, a good friend of mine, head coach at the University of the South, did 2 years at the University of Buffalo as an assistant coach. And I talked to Andy a little bit. He says it's cold. He said, but the Bills Mafia will adopt him. That is a loyal fan base. He said he won't want for warm clothing. And just what a great opportunity, because he goes from the practice squad in Atlanta to the 53-man roster in Buffalo. Not to say that he's going to be on the 44 game day roster, but it's there for him. He's got that opportunity, which he didn't have that opportunity in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, and one that he's been waiting for and working for, and it's prayers answered, and he's been blessed, and we know what he's made of and expect big things.
Turning our attention to last week, the win at Watertown, 27-7. We're broadcasting the game there in the fourth quarter, and the fourth quarter gets underway, and I'm doing my thing, and I look, and the clock says 6 minutes. I'm saying, am I in a time warp or something? They didn't tell us, but the officials apparently decided to shorten that fourth quarter.
Well, we had some conversation before the game started about what, when, where, why, how, conditions, and basically when it was agreeable with everybody, then they would do that. And they came over and during the break and said, Coach, we want to go 8 minutes, and we said yes and go. And then we kind of bled it out there for a long time, trying to get out of there and trying to keep both sides injury free. And the field conditions, bless Ed's heart. I know he worked hard on that field, and
Big Ed Roberts at Watertown, who is the field man. And
I felt bad, just good reason for everybody in Wilson County to have turf. I said that afterwards, but for anybody listening, it's just one of those things. But it was, if you'd have told me at 6 o'clock, Lebanon High School will not have a bad snap, not have a bad exchange, not have a fumble, not have a bad snap on anything, I would have said, I'll bet you 100. And luckily I would have been wrong. And one of the, knock on wood, one of the cleanest games we played in some of the worst conditions I've ever played in.
Offensive line, I thought, played well, and it got Deuce Edwards some running room. I had him for 189 yards, 3 touchdowns, one a 51-yarder, and he had a 46-yarder called back. Mm-hmm. Maybe was light enough to kind of scoot around on all that mud.
Well, he was, you could tell that he was trying to figure out when do I cut, when do I go, but he's got enough speed once he was in the open to break too, and we made a big emphasis of holding on to the football, and like you said, there was we had a lot of bodies in there, and we're getting bodies on body and trying to move the chains, and then when it wasn't Deuce, we got the majority. Gian Azetta, who was playing defense, also came over and ran the ball 6 or 7 times and had 6 or 7 impressive runs and found the end zone once, and it was I told him we're gonna let him run the football. I may not even throw it any, and kicking myself now, it probably shouldn't at all. But it's one of those things, and I was very pleased with how we played. With as they said, at times they had 10 in the box and 1 out there on their wide out, and I'm like, well, they can't get any more in there, so it'll be okay. And like I said, we were conservative. There were some things we probably could have took advantage of, but hey, let's get in and get the win, get out, and a good night. I told Joe, and he said, well, I'll end this and get. I said, I've been out in it all night. We won. I'm going to enjoy it a little bit, sit there and walk in the rain. And I was probably one of the last people out of the stadium and one of the last in the locker room because, the kids will remember that night. And again, the field conditions are what they were. Everybody had to play in them that played. And when you look towards the field house down there and that American flag standing straight and the wind's going sideways and the refs asked, which way do you want to go? And I said, that way all night. And they said, well, we can't let you do that. And I was like, well, I definitely don't want to kick off twice, but if they'll let me, I want to go that way. And so it was, if you were going into the wind, it was pretty rough. If you were going with it, at your back, it was better, but it was that way for both sides.
I give Watertown a lot of credit. Coach Webster and his bunch, they did or attempted to do what they do. They threw the football some. And Waldorf, and I know it was cold and wet, he completed some passes, and then as it got later in the game, it was probably hard to get a grip on that football.
Well, he was, if I'm not mistaken, 12 and 23. And
7 for his first 7. And
I will give him some credit, and I told my wife this because I encouraged her with my little one, you can stay home if you want to. I don't expect you to come in a hurricane. But if you would have took my blood pressure when they went up 7-6, it was probably world record wise, because not only was he throwing it into the wind and throwing it to the short side of the field where we weren't covering it correctly, and I had to get Coach Fry off the field so they could kick off because he had the 2 DBs out there holding court. And but it's after that we kind of settled down and played a little better. But he said last week on the show, well, we're going to try to do what we do, and I thought, okay, and to his credit, he did, and there's an old adage, you are who you are. Don't try to be somebody you're not, and I give them credit. They're a spread football team, and that's what they tried to do, and down some running backs with some injuries and stuff like that. I completely understand. The best chance that we have is to throw the football and spread you out and run it a little bit, not get everybody in there sound like we did and say okay. And because I knew for us, Josh was going to blitz and blitz and blitz, and so let's don't give anybody free run at us. So kudos to them, and it's just one of those things. The elements are what they are. Football's meant to be played in them, and they did it.
I didn't expect Jack Greer to play and then play as much as he played. Was that a game time decision with Jack?
Yeah. We felt like he was okay. He'd been to the doctor, and they said yeah. And so we said, all right, roll out there and go, and let us know. And of course, it's one of those things. Once you get out there, you don't feel it, and then when you get after the game, you do a little bit. And but Jack played well.
You played a lot of young guys in key moments in that football game. That's got to help you down the road.
Well, we hope so. We feel really good about our sophomore class, and some of those guys are getting acclimated, growing up. Gian got healthy. He's been battling that ankle since Centennial.
Yeah.
And finally, we set him a little bit, got a new brace, and I think he feels better. And Friday night he told me, I said, well, where's this guy been? He said, well, I'm healthy. And so that's a big plus.
He ran the ball with some conviction. He does not avoid contact.
No, he's a bowling ball, and he's got some strength about him, and he's a thick kid, and can run the football downhill, and can also play linebacker and thump you, and he's going to be a good football player. I mean, there's a reason he started at running back for us last year as a freshman, and at the end, and he's going to be a really good football player, and he's got good lateral quickness. He's a really good soccer player also.
Really, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
he was.
I bet he
I believe
raised his cane on the soccer field.
I may be telling. I may not have this right, but I believe he was the freshman of the year last year for the soccer region that we're in. But he definitely was an all-region player.
Turning our attention to Wilson Central, that's the game next on the schedule. You go to Gladeville to play Wilson Central. Chuck, they had a battle last week with Mount Juliet. 21-6 was that final. They ran the ball with conviction. They did not throw it until the last possession of the football game. They got in there and said, we're going to run the football.
And that's kind of been their MO of we're a running football team. Every once in a while they'll do the spread stuff, but they are Coach Kuhn and his staff have done a really good job. They are playing a very physical brand of football and hard-nosed and tough, and I expect Friday night to get the best shot that they have, and it will be a hard-hitting, hard-nosed football game. And I've asked our team, you're either the hammer or the nail. You better decide before you get there Friday night, and don't try to figure it out then. You better decide what you're going to be. So, doing a good job over there and rebuilding. Their freshman team is a lot better, and the future looks good for them.
Chuck, as far as the region goes, this is really an important football game, isn't it?
Well, yes. It's the next one.
Yeah.
It's a county rivalry game. It's a region game. If you look at where we're both standing, kind of in the same boat, and so it makes it much more magnified. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a in or out because we've all got some more to play, but it's definitely a very, very big football game, and I'm sure he's talked to his team about it. I've talked to mine about it. Don't want to make it bigger than it already is because it is big, but there's a lot of eyes on it, and it will probably have major implications for postseason for both of us.
Defensively, what does Wilson Central like to do?
Well, if you're talking in football terms, it's called a mint front. It kind of looks like a 50 at times, kind of looks like a 4-4 at times, sometimes two safeties, 4-3. Sometimes looks like there's one linebacker in the box, but there's really 7 to 9 of them in there. So it just depends on how you're looking at it, what formations you're giving, who they're playing in. Of course, last week they had more up in there because it's a hurricane, and probably wasn't expecting them to throw the ball as much as they normally do. And Mount Juliet was in there with some condensed sets and stuff. So it's just one of those, one of those things where you've got to, depending on what we come out in is what they'll be in. But again, their defense is doing a good job and running to the football and keeping the ball in front of them, and the kind of stuff that is good, good recipe for success.
Well, I would guess the formula that you had against Watertown will be very similar to Wilson Central. Don't hurt yourself with fumbles and bad plays.
Can't get behind the chains. can't turn the ball over, fumbles or interceptions. And then if we've got the ball, they don't. So that's always a big thing. But, yeah, I mean, being able to be efficient and either A, run the football, or B, take what they give us, or being able to not make bad decisions and throw the ball where it's not supposed to be thrown. That would be, like I said, we threw it the other night 3 times, and one of them went to them. And something you can't do. You can't, especially in a game like that when we're in control, don't give them the opportunity. So, again, the old adage that we talk about every week, I think, and I truly believe this, it's more about us than it is Wilson Central. Nothing against them, but how are we going to handle the situation with a big football game? And I talk to our kids about the competitive composure that you've got to have to snap and clear, do the things that you're supposed to, and in a big game, a heated game, don't let the emotions cause you to have a pre-snap, post-snap penalty. The jumping off sides. I want to give him a little extra after the whistle, or hey, I'm trying to get in on that pile a little bit, and it's one of those things. And in a game like this with 2 evenly matched teams, you never know what break can turn the tide, and so it's something that you have to be really conscientious of and try to take care of the discipline part. And me and Coach Perry just sat back there and talked about all of it. With kids, it's you never know. Yeah, I mean, you never know what a 14 or 18-year-old is going to react. Friday night there was a fumble, and there's kids falling on the ground and scuffling for a football. Well, they ended up throwing one of theirs out. I've looked. I didn't see any punches thrown. I told Josh I didn't see any. And then they threw one out and said he'd come off the sidelines who had run a route. And it just, you never know. And then we got a 15-yarder, and our kid was just pulling again and was trying to separate 2 from that were kind of jawing, and they give him a 15-yarder. And I'm like, goodness, what's next? And so, and I get it. The referees have to control it and let everybody know who's in charge. But the emotions run high, and so you have to control yourself. And for a 14 to 18-year-old, sometimes that's big stuff.
Quickly, team meals this week. The CRNAs at Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital providing Thursday's team meal, and former Lebanon player Isaiah Moore providing Friday's team meal. Thanks again to Shop Springs Creamery. Their corn maze is going to be open on Friday for those that enjoy that sort of thing, so you can get a couple of dips and go walking through the corn maze. Chuck, best of luck as you go to Gladeville and you take on Wilson Central on Friday.
Thank you, Tommy.
We'll be back with our final segment after these words. Welcome back to our third and final segment of Coach's Night Out. Of course, we're live at Town Square Social. Trey Perry, head coach of the Golden Bears, with us. And Trey, a tough weekend for the Golden Bears. Jackson Ricchetti, your sophomore long snapper, involved in an automobile accident. What can you tell us about Jackson?
Last 24 hours has been very encouraging. First, let me talk about the player and who he is. Also, his dad, Matt Ricchetti, is our tight ends coach and our bus driver and about 10 other things that we've noticed this week. He's been with me, like I said, he's been with me for a decade. So Jackson's been with us off and on almost his whole life. His older brother Corey, long snap for us for 4 years, so it's in the family. Obviously, Corey's at Austin P, long snapping now. But yes, Saturday he was actually going to another football player's house for a cookout. You know how the roads were with the rain, hydroplaned and wrapped his truck around a tree. On the scene, there was a cop there that knew one of our coaches, and he kind of gave him a heads up. It was pretty serious. It's been a roller coaster since then, to be honest with you. That family's been phenomenal. Our community and our family of MJ DNA has been phenomenal, and I don't want to go too far with updates and those kind of things because you want to kind of verify those. But I'll just say remarkable improvement in the last 24 hours. It was just posted that they extubated the tube. He is breathing on his own. They want him to talk, and I think he's trying to do that. But he's passing the commands that they give him. So it couldn't be better news after obviously horrible news in the beginning.
We have posted on all of the Wilson Post social media sites a GoFundMe account. You see that picture of Jackson and a link to that GoFundMe account. The numbers were pretty impressive before I left the office today, Trey. And if folks don't know how to help, they can go there and help. There's no telling, the long-term impact, the financial impact on a family for something like that. And if you can help, you can find it in your heart, find it in your wallet to help this bunch. It would be much appreciated.
Yes, sir. And he's obviously at Vanderbilt in ICU. I heard his dad say it today. I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. And they know that. But they also are a family that has been with us, and we talk about training all the time, and this is their new level of training. And he phrased it like that, and I thought that was very encouraging and the right way to do it.
Trey, last week a 21-6 win over Wilson Central. You got Wilson Central's best effort, didn't you?
Did. Got Wilson Central's best effort, got Helene's best effort.
What did it do to the field? I'll be there Thursday night to cover that game. What was it like when you guys left the field?
Well, the magician helped it out this week. Coach Perry put his touch on it, and it's I think it's recovered for the most part. Hats off to Coach Kuhn and Wilson Central because they got on board with us, and both of us warmed up off of the game field. So at least at 7 p.m. we just had a wet field, but it hadn't been touched. I think that helped. But it was, coming out of the half, it was pretty nasty. I've done a few of those, but as far as hurricane rain games, it was pretty nasty. But again, you're right. Wilson Central played very hard, very physical. It was good for our guys. We played well. We still have Mount Juliet beating Mount Juliet at times.
The penalties were an issue, weren't they?
They continue to be. We've implemented some things now, and without going into too great a detail, that I think will help that. I think I've said this before, and I'm getting tired of saying it to them, to be real honest with you, and I think they know that. There's a difference between physical penalties that happen in the flow of the game and selfish penalties that happen outside of the flow of the game, and we got to cut the selfish ones out. But they know that.
And I'm sure you've been on that from day one. And was it 13 penalties?
There were 9 personal fouls, and so 9 15-yarders are, we went years not having that before, and I think part of the conversation we talk about being physical and bringing that physicality to the game, but at the same time, there's a whistle for a reason, and that's the end of the play.
Travers and Osborne hooked up a couple of times for short touchdown passes. Good combination for you guys.
Absolutely. The first one was really heads up. We were in the low red area, so I had 2 tight ends in, maybe even an extra lineman, and showed a package where we were going to, Wilson Central did the right thing, packed the box all night long, and Tyler just saw that the corner was drifting inside a little bit and wasn't quite out there. And he turned a running play into a passing play, and we give him that freedom, and Baylor's just so reliable. I hope young players watch him practice, because the way he practices, you would not know the difference between a practice and Super Bowl championship or the gold ball game. He practices that way all the time, so his play reflects that.
Our reporter at the game talked to Travers after the game and asked him about Osborne. Kept making those catches. He said, well, he's a baseball catcher and he catches 90-mile-an-hour fastballs, so he can catch the ball.
Yeah, he said it better than I could. But the fact that we went 8 for 10 on that night, I was very proud of that.
Yeah.
We didn't get a ton of yards, but we had to kind of loosen up that box some, and we were able to do that. And in those conditions, that was pretty impressive.
I mentioned in my preview story that's in the Post today about Thursday's game with Antioch that 2 of the premier quarterbacks in Middle Tennessee are going to be going at it. Now, they don't play against each other, but
hope not.
Travers and Andre Adams from Antioch, pretty good, classy bunch, a couple of quarterbacks out there.
Yes, and Andre, when you break down film on him, it's not just, of course he's got the scramble ability with his size and being able to do that, that's a problem, but when he sees what he wants from a read progression standpoint, he gets rid of the football, and that's problematic too, because he's got people he can throw it to.
Well, he runs to throw. He never gives up on the play.
Sure, and his eyes stay downfield. I know we've heard that a lot because he does it a lot, so we tried to mimic some sort of a scramble drill several times this week, but it was good. We sort of froze the defensive line, let the back 7 play, and told him, it might be 5 or 6 seconds because of what you just said. He's looking to make the splash play, but if he can't, then he can pull it down and make a splash play himself. So we've got to be super disciplined. I've told you before, I trust this defense, and they're doing a great job. They've done a good job studying film on this short week with all the stuff around it. So hopefully we'll be ready to play.
They've got a big offensive tackle who's committed to Purdue, and he's not the only big one they've got. They got some size.
I said that, something similar to that, which is he should stand out being 6'5" or 6'6" or whatever he is, and he doesn't. And that's a problem too. They are really big. And then defensively, I don't think they get quite enough credit defensively. Yes, offensively they should get credit. They scored 36 on Nolensville, who I think is a really good football team. But in the Oakland game, if you really kind of diagnose and study the film, now Oakland does what they do, and they get a special team score and a defensive score. But you start subtracting that, you realize Antioch played a pretty darn good game against them on defense.
They're coming off a loss to Stewart's Creek I'm sure it was a messy, wet football game. How did they play in that game against Stewart's Creek? You've seen the film.
That's a great question. Here's what we did Sunday when we came together. Obviously, after reporting on Jackson, we started talking about them and breaking them down as a team. We said, here's what we need you to do. That's an outlier, because it is. Like, they can't run their offense in that kind of weather. And then Stewart's Creek did the right thing too. They slowed the game down. They put in extra linemen. And so there were some things we got to see from maybe an offensive standpoint, but our defense didn't put a lot of stock in that.
Okay. It's going to be a 7:30 kickoff. You have a son who plays for you Arcente Broom, head coach at Antioch, has a son who plays at Overton,
Correct.
where he was before he got to Antioch, and they've got senior night, and you were certainly accommodating to move that game to 7:30.
Well, we talked first about going to Thursday. I kind of explained to him about fall break and those kind of things. And Arcente and I go way back. He coached at Maplewood. We coached against each other, good friends. And he was fine with 7 at first. And I was like, man, I said the same thing you just said. I was like, I've got one on my team. I wouldn't want to miss it. We're doing military first responder tonight.
Okay.
In pregame. It's actually helped because we get to do that. We get to honor Jackson. And then at halftime, we still have to have homecoming because we've had it canceled twice.
Yeah.
So hopefully we getting all that in tomorrow night.
Thursdays have never bothered you. You may be Mr. Thursday night.
I like them. I mean, there's a myriad of reasons why. Obviously, what we do on Sunday, we feel like gains an advantage. Our kids are sort of used to that. That's not a problem. So we just pretend like Sunday's Monday, and we move that way throughout the week. And we've done it. This will be our second. We'll end up with 3 this year. And I like, obviously, having 8 days to prepare the next week, or in this case, it's going to be a little bit longer with the bye week, but you get to go out and scout somebody. If you're playing the Friday game and your future opponent's playing the Thursday game, it's a little bit harder to go do that. Once you've got yours and, done and over with, it's easier to do it that way.
And there's something to be said for actually seeing an opponent live and in person and hearing snap counts and things like that, as opposed to just going through the film.
100%. And I catch myself doing it sometimes. Of course, this is a grind, and you get tired. But sometimes, I'll get that film. We'll put it. It'll be in the region film pool. We'll get those films. We'll get every angle of the film, but it's still not quite the same. Because you can see personnel groupings going in and out. Maybe people that are banged up on the sidelines that might not be on film, and you kind of can solve that puzzle a little bit easier about why is this guy starting in front of that guy. There's plenty of things you see in real time that you don't pick up on film.
No reason to suspect that there won't be anything but a big crowd there on Thursday night, because you've wrapped a lot of things around this game with the first responders, the military recognition, the halftime, the girls finally get to wear their gowns and come out and do that sort of thing. Thursday night's going to be a big deal there at Mount Juliet.
And, we talked before, but we need it to be because, you sort of project in your budget what you think based on tradition that you're going to get in Gates. And we just got absolutely slammed in the Gallatin and the Wilson Central games. And then Warren County not having homecoming that night. It just, the weather's played tricks on us this year, and we haven't really gotten what we need out of it. So that would help tremendously tomorrow night if we had a big crowd.
And a lot of folks don't understand that football programs and all the athletic programs pretty much stand on their own, either fundraising or ticket sales, and headgear costs $400 a pop these days.
Right, and not only that, but depending on which school you're at and how they've got it kind of divvied out, but we also support some of the minor sports with some of our gate money. So obviously that's important, and again, you project and you try to be cost effective, but we could take a good gate right now and use it.
Best of luck to the Bears. Play well. That's the big thing, and don't get some personal fouls, and you feel like you're going to be in a position to do what you want to do.
Well, and the tough part tomorrow night, and it'll be for me personally too, is just managing emotions, because it feels like it's been a month since we played Wilson Central with the week that we've had. So, you try to temper that and put it on the shelf for 2.5 hours and get to be distracted, and use it as motivation. I've said, and my kids repeated me today on some of the news things, like, we don't usually do this game's dedicated to, because we're a big family.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, but we can use this as motivation, and we're going to on this. Like, this is for 44, and we want him to win his battle way more than our game. But any little bit that can help, we're going to do it.
Thanks for the visit, Trey. I really appreciate it. Trey Perry, head coach at Mount Juliet, here with us as we close out this Week 7 edition of Coach's Night Out. Where has the season gone? Town Square Social is our site. Let me run through our sponsors one more time. Advantage Roofing Contractors, LLC, Shop Springs Creamery, the Salas Realty Group, THW Insurance Service, LLC, Cumberland University Athletics, DT McCall, and Sons. For all the guys behind the camera, I'm Tommy Bryan. I will talk to you later.